So let's talk about tired of juggling spreadsheets, unlocking growth with unified business intelligence, also known as BI, and AI, artificial intelligence. So we're going to look at how we can start to leverage tools, look at our tool stack to determine, can one tool or can a couple of tools do more than having 5 or 6 or 7 tools, especially as a small business, and how well are they interconnected? So if you don't know who I am, my name is Jimmy Newson. I am the founder and CEO of Moving Forward Small Business. I've recently thrown my hat into the SaaS world, so I have Traxcend and Foclea. I do speak all over the world, so I get a chance to really get an understanding of small business success, small business failures, small business struggles globally. And the incredible thing is there's not a lot of difference in what we struggle with as small business owners. The only major difference that I've found is typically just the rules and regulations based on the area that you're doing business in. But besides that, we all struggle with the same things, trying to get more clients, our messaging, the tools, the tech stacks that we leverage. I partnered with organizations from SBA and SCORE to Digital Marketing World Forum to recently the International Emmys, where I did a whole session on SWOT analysis. Super exciting. So now let's talk about who today's session is for. And this is exciting and unique at the same time because as we developed the Traxcend tool, we originally were going to develop it for solopreneurs and side hustlers, independent professionals and part-time entrepreneurs managing their business and trying to figure out a way to grow their business, go from being a side hustle and not really knowing what to do next to having a really strong roadmap and knowing when it's time to take that next step, that leap of faith, and turn that side hustle into a full-blown business. And then as we were developing tools inside of Traxcend, a number of our community members were like, we're not startups and we're not solopreneurs, but we are established businesses and we do see a value in this tool. So we're going to so it's great for established businesses and then of course startup founders. So the whole focus here is feeling overwhelmed. I'm a small business owner and I feel the overwhelm and I think I'm pretty well organized. And so, there's always a disconnect between the number of tools you're using and the endless spreadsheets you might be leveraging, whatever, if there was a place to house everything. So let's talk about the cost of chaos, because that's what we feel like we're in right now. The cost of chaos. One is disconnected systems. So you're constantly doing manual data entry, copying information from your CRM to your accounting to your marketing tool. And sometimes you get lucky and you have an API integration or something like that. But in essence, a lot of your systems are siloed. And then on top of that, there's missed opportunities. Just this month alone, I had a number of proposals out and I actually forgot the proposals that I had out. I forgot some of the conversations that I've had. And those in themselves are missed opportunities. And then the wasted times, the hours spent working on projects over and over again. So we have to start to leverage technology better to reduce the manual data entry, to decrease the amount of missed opportunities, and reduce waste time that you seem to do all the time. The second problem is lack of insights. The great thing about a lot of tools today are there's a lot of data. There's a ton of data and you have access to a lot of data, whether you realize it or not. If you are using a CRM system, if you are using an email marketing system, if you are using tools like SEMrush that give you a lot of data on how you're performing in AI search, it doesn't matter. You have access to a lot of data. The question is, are you analyzing that data and does that data give you the opportunity to connect with other data so you can make really informed decisions? Being reactive instead of proactive. You discover problems way after you should have discovered them. Is there a way to see those problems a lot sooner? And then the guesswork and strategy. What should I do? How should I price my products? What marketing messages should I attach to a specific product? Do I need multiple landing pages to talk to my different personas? All of these things are things that have to be done, and there's only 24 hours in a day, and I'm assuming 8 of those you need to sleep, and the other 8 of the additional 8 are used for anything other than work. Unless you're a crazy guy like me and you're probably spending up to 16 hours of working because, of course, you love what you do. And then the third one is the stalled growth. There's a risk of burnout. Again, there's missed opportunities, time drains, and then there's growth barriers. It's just there's only so much you can do as either a small team or a solopreneur or a side hustler that still has a full-time job. So how can we simplify this entire process? So what we're going to cover today is we're going to look at, a smarter way of working. Discover a unified platform that brings clarity to chaos, actionable insights, learn how AI transforms data into strategic decisions, and sustainable growth. Explore tools that scale with your ambition. And this is very exciting for me. I want this to be extremely educational. Even though I am showing you the Traxcend tool, the question you might ask yourself is, do I already have a tool like this? So I'm not telling you have to get it, but if you like it, you should get it. So let's talk about the power of all-in-one. So now we're going to go ahead and get into a tool like Traxcend and what it can do and how it can help you with your business. So the biggest thing you want to look at is a central hub. Everything should be accessible from one screen. You want to look at, does it have client management strategies around it? Does it have project tracking opportunities? And does it give you financial overviews? And this is where this tool will differ from a project management tool, where this tool is there's a lot more to consider with this tool, and I'll just get into it. So here's kind of like a screenshot of a dashboard. So we're going to go into the actual tool itself and take a look at what we can see here. So if we come over here and we go to Traxcend, what we're looking at right now is our main dashboard. And our main dashboard is where, this tool is really built to be finance first. Okay. So you're looking at your total revenue here. You can look at your net profit, so you can see how profitable you are from your total revenue. You can look at unbilled time. You can look at your time ROI. You can look at your MRR, which stands for your monthly recurring revenue, your ARR, your annual recurring revenue, your potential revenue, and your operating cost. And what that does is it gives you an idea to understand what your business health score is. And you got your profit margin, your cash flow, and your goal progress, because there are things that you want to make sure that you're achieving on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that make sure that you continue to make sure your company is growing. And if we scroll down a little bit, we can see our cash flow projections. We can see our revenue pipelines, what's in the pipeline. We can see our proposals, our RFP proposals, which are different than your standard proposals, any outstanding invoices. You can look at all your recurring revenue and your multiple P&L across different projects. And so we're going to get really deep here as we go through the next hour to kind of break down. You don't do anything on this particular screen. This here is pre-populated with everything else that happens on the the left side of this deck. So you can log your expenses, you can track your time, and you can view reports. So this is your dashboard. Okay, so let's go back in here into our deck here. And some of the things we want to be able to do in a tool like this is your client profile. How much information do you have available to you in your client profile? Project plans, meaning your task and your milestones, invoices, and time logs. So we can now do all of this inside of this tool. And the cool thing about it is not only do we track all of these individually, they all should be connected together. And when they're connected together, then we can analyze it and learn from it. So let's go back over here and let's look at a number of things. Let's look at projects and hubs first. So I'm going to start here. So sometimes you can be a bit stuck in understanding, what do I have to offer? So let's start with projects. So projects for us are all about understanding what are your revenue channels, not necessarily the product or service, but the channels in which you will make money. And I will just read this to give you an example of what we mean here. Projects are your internal business categories or your revenue streams, such as consulting and web design, services are specific client-facing offers. So if you're offering consulting, you might offer 2 or 3 different types of consulting. If you're offering web design, you might offer web design across maybe 2 or 3 different types of platforms, such as WordPress and Squarespace. If you're offering AI services, you might offer AI readiness services, consultations, actual implementation. Well, those are projects. And the cool thing about projects is projects will allow you to say, look, this is the project I want to do. These are the services that fit in that project. And here's the target profit margin I'd like to bring from that. And so that's going to be very important later. So we'll come down here to the Idea Hub. So the Idea Hub helps you feed the projects. So let's say you're not sure what you want to do. And here's where the AI comes into play. So I can come over here and explore ideas. I can say, look, I have these skills. I'm interested in this industry. I can give this much time to this project. And here's my starting budget. And if I can do those 4 things, then it'll give me an idea of some really great things I can offer, I can create as projects to create services under. Okay, so I've already did some, and you'll see you have a number here, 50 to 70%, 65 to 80%. This stands for the amount of the profit margin that you could walk away from if you decided to create the Entrepreneurial Toolkit Academy for your audience that you're targeting. So let me click on that because we want to learn more. It gives you the market trend. It tells you what the market trend is. It looks at the scalability model. It looks at the required skills. So now you'll know if you're short on skills to produce this type of service, product, service for your audience. It tells you what you need to do to get started. And then it tells you how much revenue you should be bringing in before you start considering this a real thing. And if you like that, then you can click Start as a Project, and then it pushes it over to the project. And now you have something to measure. And you can see this is a dummy account. So the clients you're going to see in this are not real clients because I don't want to show you real clients. But you can see now I can attach actual clients to these projects. And then I can start to measure to see, are these profitable enough for me to turn into a real business or to add as an additional service to my existing business. So you can see we can get pretty detailed here and get started and moving really, really quickly. So let's go back over. Now, I know I'm going through a lot here. Again, you'll be able to watch this again, but feel free to drop in the chat if you have any specific questions. Okay, so let's keep going. So let's talk about financial tracking. So can we track time? Can we automate invoices? Can we, how do we handle payment processing and then financial insights? So let's start with time tracking and automated invoices. So let's say you decide to build your client base. So I added ABC Corporation here. And what I'm going to do here, if I come down to financials, I can see I have invoices, transactions, recurring expenses, and time and mileage. Now they operate independently of each other, but they're also connected. This is what feeds that initial dashboard that you're seeing with all that data. And if I come back over to this one here, you can see all of this data is starting to be populate because you're creating your invoices, you're recording your transactions, you're recording, you're listing your recurring expenses, and you're tracking your time and your mileage. Okay, all in one place. So if we come back over here, I'm going to go back to the dummy account here just so I can go in a little bit deeper here. Let's start with transactions. So let's say someone paid you outside of all of your platforms. You can just add that expense automatically in here. You can choose the projects. So remember, we created some projects. So I want to attach it to my AI powered small business consultant. I can say how much it was. I could choose the date. I can now drop down, choose the client. I can add a category. What's this transaction for? Is it for services, sales, subscriptions, product sales? I can give a brief description, and then I add that transaction. Okay, and then that itself, so let me just type in $5,000 because that's what I wanted to charge this person, $5,000. And again, immediately that dashboard up here is going to start to update, but also I want to attach some expenses to that particular one as well. And this is going to become important a little bit later because when we get down to the report section, all the reports that you're going to be able to spit out are actually going to be tax ready. So that's one of the biggest things we wanted to make sure that was ready in this tool, because small businesses in general are notorious for struggling with tax preparation. Well, we want to make sure that from the get-go, from the moment you're leveraging a tool like this, everything you do is tax ready. Okay, so this is why we've set it up in such a really cool way. All right, so we got transactions, we got recurring expenses. So now let's say you've got tons of expenses, you want to start to make sure you're catching those as well. So maybe you got an Adobe Cloud expense. So let's just say Adobe Cloud. The vendor is Adobe, of course. And maybe you're paying $56 a month. Choose your category, and we're going to say it's a software subscription. It's monthly frequency, and the due date, we'll say it's the 1st of every month. So let's just mark the next date of February 1st, and we'll say that it's always auto paid. That way it just automatically gets tracked in your thing, and you can add any additional notes here. Now you add your expense. Now you've got that going on. So now you can see you've got your monthly. It costs you $56 monthly, but you can see annually it's costing you $600. And again, now think about all the things that you're paying for that you right now in your mind can't tell you, oh, I'm paying for all of these tools. Now to have this all in one place is going to be amazing, because you're going to be able to see at a glance, what am I spending every month, from software to rent to whatever, to one-off products like marketing material, things that for a trade show. So being able to have that bird's eye view is going to be very good in so many different ways. And again, now when you're trying to generate these reports, you have everything that you possibly need to move forward with making sure that you're filing taxes on time and all that craziness. Okay, let's go ahead and go back in here. So let's talk about beyond data storage. So now that we have this data in here, the next big question becomes, well, what am I going to do because of this data? What can I learn from it? So traditional tools, they store the information passively, requiring manual analysis and interpretation, which in most cases we usually leave to our bookkeeper and our accountant to tell us what this stuff means. Well, in a modern AI platform, analysis patterns can identify opportunities and suggest actionable next steps. Let's look at our AI hub. So here's a few things this tool can do. It can generate ideas. It can brainstorm for new opportunities. It can refine concepts, and it can validate your ideas. A few things that you want that this tool can also do: it can analyze requirements and create proposals for you. You can create new products and services and optimize for the right price coming out the gate. And then what that leads to is higher win rates. So let's come back over here and let's take a look at a few new tabs. So we talked about the AI side of things. So let's look at proposals. So let's say you are working with a client or you're working with a new prospect. Here's an opportunity for you. Let's say you had a discovery call, and this is how it typically goes for me. I'll have a discovery call. I'll take quite a few notes with that particular with that prospect, and now I have to do a proposal. And I've talked to a number of colleagues, and they're like, this proposal that I have should have been out 3 weeks ago, and we're all struggling with that. So now with this new proposal builder, I can hit in here, go in here, choose the prospect or the client, because we haven't gotten to it yet, but we have clients and we have prospects. I don't want to go there yet, but one's a prospect, one's a client. So let's just say Jane Doe is a prospect. So I'm going to choose Jane Doe, and I'm going to say, oh, we were going to do a website redesign. And so we're just going to also call it a website redesign. And see, we can attach it to a product. So if I had websites as a project, I could click and add that project, and I can also link it to a service. So if I had a website service, I could click and add it to the service. Now what these two things are doing is, one is allowing me to show the profitability across the entire website category, and the other one is showing me a specific service that is going to generate revenue for my business. And I'm going to make this valid until, let's say, the end of this month. So at the end of the month, it's going to expire. Now, if I had notes that I've taken with this individual client, this prospect, I can drop those notes here, because sometimes I use Notion and I'm taking notes. And why are the notes important? Because the notes will help to make sure that the proposal you're going to use, that you're going to generate with AI, is extremely relevant to that particular client. So you're going to be able to start turning notes or turning things around quickly. So I'm just going to real quick just generate some notes. I need fake notes for a client I just spoke to about web redesign. So I just want some notes. So let it give me some notes, because again, just think about if these were your actual notes. So not bad at all. Here we go. So I'm just going to copy that. And I could save it as a Word doc, or I could just paste it directly into Traxcend. So again, I can upload it as a PDF or Word doc, but I'm just going to paste it in. So let's just assume these are my notes. And now I'm going to generate proposal. And so this will allow you to now not necessarily be stuck with cookie cutter proposals, but proposals that are highly tailored to the individual. So now you scroll down, it gave us a name, the scope, the service, the deliverables, it gave us the price, and you can change that price. And let's say sometimes I usually give 2 or 3 options on a pre-proposal where you can add different packages so they can choose which one they want, and then when they decide, then you can mark it final. So now there's your proposal details. You can finalize with your price, add your terms of service, and save your proposal and export it. So I could save this for now, come back to it, and if I had a price on it, then that's where this number, if I go back to the dashboard, you see potential revenue. This now lets you know how much potential revenue I have in my pipeline. So if you've got 7 proposals out at $3,000 a proposal, you now know you've got $21,000 in potential revenue that you need to close. So you're not forgetting anything. So as you can start to see, as you start to work your way through this sidebar here, things start to really get clear for your overall business, where this becomes your central focus of running your organization. All right, let's go back in here, back to the deck here. Here's something that's really exciting. Recently, myself and a number of my colleagues attended a government contract event. And so one thing I realized is we need a way to find very relevant government contracts and, of course, grants for our own business. So within this tool, we're able to now discover new grants, draft those grants, and optimize them so we can win that business. So let's come back over here, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how the grant writer works. So now you get another chance to really start to generate more revenue for your business. Okay, so let's go over to, we have the funding and procurement. So I'm going to start with the grant writer. So right now, the grant finder. So the grant finder allows us to drop in a keyword: small business grants for tech startups in California, women-owned business grants. You know, it could be relevant to you. We have a member, she's in catering. So we started looking for catering grants around catering and food. So it doesn't matter your industry. And then once you do drop in your whatever it is you're looking for, then, so let's just do one. Let's just say jewel. And this one's really obscure. Just to see if anything pops up if I'm a jewelry maker. And look, we have quite a few grants for jewelry makers. Okay? And you can see if it's a foundation, if it's a state level, if it's nonprofit, who's offering up the grant. Federal. You can see how much the grant is worth: $50,000 for this one, $7,000 for this, $20,000, and it also pulls in the deadlines for when you have to get these, when you can apply, how long you have, and the tool is set up to make sure that it doesn't give you any deadlines that have already passed. So now you might go, wow, this one looks very interesting for $50,000. I think, you read it a little bit. You can click on it and view what is available. You can view the actual landing page and see a little bit more, so you can investigate more. And let's say you like it, you click save. So it saves to your grants. So now here's all the grants that have been saved by you. And it tells you that is discovered. We're now in preparing mode for this one particularly. This one's up to $2 million. So again, there's a lot of opportunity for you. So the question becomes, how do I track this and not forget I'm doing this? Well, that's where you have your pipeline. Your pipeline allows you to move the grants from discover to research to preparing to submit it, under review, and reward. Now here's the magic part. Let's come over to the writing assistant. So let's say, all right, I just got that new grant, that David Yerman grant. I'm going to click over here, and we're now in the writing assistant. So we can say, all right, we got draft, refine, or document. So in the draft mode, I hit draft, and it will immediately draft the grant for me. And what I'll do is integrate some things about my business into that in the refinement section. And if I had downloaded any documents from that website, I can upload them here to make sure that it really gets the essence of what that grant is supposed to be. So you got your executive summary, it has your company name and what the grant's about. It gives you some of the things you have to do. It even gives you a timeline, and it'll even break down how the money is going to be used. Now, the objective here is you read through this, and now you need to make adjustments, because you might go, oh, I actually want to do $15,000 towards the marketing and only $5,000 to workshop development. So you have to still do your due diligence and update it. And so the question goes, all right, if I got the draft, maybe I add some refinements. The question becomes, well, what documents do I need in order to fully apply for this? So you hit the suggest required documents, and if it gave you some insights and you put that into the refinement section, it now will know specifically what documents that you must have in order to apply for this. And now you can see it's showing you things like you need your financial documents, profit and loss statements, your balance sheet, your cash flow, your tax returns, your business plan, company registration. So now you know, all right, I need all of these in order to apply. And the cool thing is most of these will be supplied to you inside of Traxcend, which is another great reason to use Traxcend. Now let's say you go, everything looks great. I need to create the request for proposal so I can actually apply for this grant. You can push it to our RFP maker, and I'm not going to go into that right now, but you can push it to that and then complete this grant. And now within minutes, you're farther ahead than if you had to try to figure it out on your own, and then weeks later you still had nothing accomplished. So these are some incredible things that you can do from the grant finder. And then finally, the built for growth. So the next thing is, now we can start thinking strategically. So clear goals, performance metrics, confidence growth, AI insights. So now that we have all this data and we're building all of these things, what are we going to be tracking? Let's start with your marketing. You still need to market your business. You need email campaigns. You need content creation. You need social media. So if we come back over here, we've built in what we call the marketing engine. And so the marketing engine, you look at the overviews, you can have email campaigns, content pieces, overall campaigns like ad campaigns, whatnot, whether that's digital or analog or over-the-top television, in your social media post, and you can draft to your heart's desire. And what you do is each section, you've got lead nurturing. So you can create email nurture sequences. Let me show you this one here. We did one to engage our community. So if I click on view, you can see there's 5 emails in here. I can increase this to 6 or 7 emails that I want in that email nurture sequence. I made it, the target audience was our community. The type of content was educational. The tone was professional. So I could change it. I want a welcome sequence. I want a nurture sequence. I want a re-engagement sequence. I want the tone to be friendly, casual. And once you do all that, then it will build out the content for you. And then, of course, you can go in and edit that content. That's just lead nurturing. Content creation is all about the additional content, blog posts, articles, lead magnets, newsletters, case studies. Now, you'll still be leveraging your third-party platforms to post on these, but this will help keep everything unified across all your products and services, your clients. Let's go over to the client section for a second. We come over to the clients. We can now do things like measure relationships. How many times have you let relationships fall through the cracks? Let's say a relationship ends up turning into a client, where you can convert that person into a client. If we come over to the clients, we can see that individual, all their contact information. If we speak to them, we can log that conversation, whether it was an email, call, meeting, or note, client report, follow up. What are you doing with them? If it's a prospect, you can click on that prospect. Let's say that prospect becomes a client. You mark them as a qualified lead. Once they're a qualified lead, at that point, you can then make them an actual client. It pushes them from prospect directly to client. Okay? And again, this is where you're attaching proposals. If you're working on new products and you need pricing, you go to the pricing tool and you choose whether it's a service or a product, and then you go to work on building your pricing strategy, leveraging, of course, AI. All right. So if you have any questions, again, drop them in the chat. And then finally, we have reporting and analytics. Okay. And nothing is worth anything if you're not checking out if you're not building reports and you're not analyzing to figure out what's next. So you want a comprehensive business view, looking at your profitability, looking from a project standpoint, from a service standpoint, even from a client perspective, getting detailed breakdowns. You get some cash flow projections and financial health score. From a strategic advantage, you can identify financial trends and patterns over time, monitor business health and key performance indicators at a glance, make data-driven decisions with current financial insight. So there's a lot that you can do. So if we come back over here one last time, and we come all the way down to AI analysis, we have two tabs. We have current state analysis and growth and risk scenario. So what does that mean? Current state analysis is really about, because of everything that's going on with your business, from your clients and your relationships and your marketing and your funding options and the revenue you're bringing in, where do you stand? And then growth and risk is like, well, what can we do to benefit from this? So let's go back and click on analysis. So we hit the generate insight, and you can see it gives us an executive summary. It gives us some key strengths. It gives us some areas of improvement and some immediate opportunities. So now we know what we can start to do to continue that momentum. And that's in your current state analysis, which is also your AI insights. Now, one thing I didn't mention to you is on every single page, we have two tabs above every page. One is the instructions on how to use that very specific page. And the next one are your strategies. What are the best strategies to get the most out of this page? So no matter what page you click on, you have instructions and you have strategies. So you're never alone. And of course, you have the AI chatbot here that you can talk to about whatever's going on in your account. Okay, so let's come back over here. So we looked at the current state. So let's take a look at the predictive analytics and risk assessment. And at any point, you can refresh as you add more clients, more data, but you'll get your predictive forecast for the next 90 days. You'll get your growth scenarios. You got scenario A, which is conservative, which is a 25% effort. You got your scenario B, which is moderate, and your scenario C, which is aggressive. Okay? And it tells you what the requirements are in order to achieve that conservative, moderate, or aggressive next step. You got your risk analysis. You got your strategic opportunities, and you got your actionable recommendations, things that you should do over the next 30 days. Short-term actions you should do between the next 30 and 90 days, and long-term strategies beyond your 90 days. So again, you're getting some great insight, and the beauty of this is all your data is talking to each other. So it's not like any specific thing is siloed. You have the ability to generate these analysis based on everything that it now knows about you inside of the tool. And then finally, we get to the reporting part. where, like I mentioned before, first of all, I need to say, you need to always consult with a tax professional. But at the end of the day, we're building this so it is tax friendly and tax ready, with everything from your Schedule C helper to your P&L statements, your mileage logs, your sales tax, your profitability by project, income by client. So again, you're seeing all the different ways you can break this data out depending on who needs that information. Whether it's internal, maybe you're the CFO and the CEO needs it. As a small business owner, you're the CEO and the CMO, but somebody is the CFO and the CIO, or you're just all by yourself. So, but you still can look at these and determine how is all of this, how does this all break down? Okay. So very exciting times when it comes to the next stage. So if you're interested in this tool, right now we're in our beta, and you can start using this tool 14 days for free, but it's as low as $9. So I would suggest you look at the landing page for our pricing on traxcend.com/pricing to determine, what's in what's in the $9 a month plan, what's in the $29 a month plan. And of course, the $89 a month plan is for those of you who might serve other small businesses and want to use Traxcend for your clients. You want to have you manage their accounts for them. Okay. So there's additional opportunities there as well. Again, if you're interested in Traxcend, you can definitely check it out. And now I'm going to open it up for questions. And again, I know I hit you with a lot. You will get the replay for today's session. But at the end of the day, this is where we're going to go from chaos to clarity. And the objective here is, if we look back at the app here, is we're covering all the main sections of a business, from the core business to the offerings, the sales and clients, the marketing engine, the funding and procurement. So now you have other ways of funding your business, financials, your analysis, and of course your reporting. So this is our opportunity to help you make sure that you're starting off on the right foot. So again, I'll leave it open here for any questions you might have. Definitely feel free to, again, check out Traxcend.com. You can always book a call if you want to talk to me first. You're more than welcome to book a call with me directly by either scanning this code or leveraging this URL at the bottom here. And I do appreciate you all showing up today on this call, and I hope that you got some ideas of, one, what Traxcend can do, but two, what AI in general can do. When people go, well, how is AI helping businesses grow? Well, it's more than just writing, writing blog posts and social media posts. There's so much more that AI can do for a small business to help them, from strategically really make the moves and build the systems and processes that will truly help them grow as a business. Okay. So finally, Corey says this is great information and a great tool. Thank you very much, sir. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. The replay will be sent out to you tomorrow, and I look forward to getting any feedback you have on this tool. Remember, 14-day free trial. Give it a shot. Nothing to lose and everything to gain. All right. With that being said, enjoy the rest of the day, and I look forward to seeing you all again on another webinar. As we say at Moving Forward Small Business, stay active, stay focused, stay strong. That is the Moving Forward Small Business way. Have a great day.